Hello everyone, I'm the Quixotic politician, and today marks a special episode. Not only are we talking about something very important to the modern election cycle, but this is the first time when we take part in Illumination with Eric Lively. For those of you who don't know, I do it's a weekly video where I talk about a modern political issue or something that's come up in my government and politics class. So I try to bring in a whole bunch of information and try to help inform myself and my fellow, my student peers and just anyone in the general public, which is why my videos are on YouTube, so that way everyone can kind of see what's going on. Today, we're answering a very important question that deals with only the Democratic primary process. What is a superdelegate? Now, a lot of you might be following the election. It's kind of a big deal. But you'll see in the news a lot like, Hillary Clinton wins massive victory in New York. They're like, decisive victory. She's ahead by a delegate count, but it's not a huge gap if you don't factor in superdelegates. And superdelegates aren't committed, one, until convention, and two, have no binding obligation to their commitments. So, on the first ballot, they might be all for Hillary, and then the second ballot be like, hey, actually, let's go Bernie or whatever. So what is a superdelegate? You probably just get to the point, right? So a superdelegate is an unelected delegate who is free to support any candidate for the presidential nomination at the party's national convention. So how does this play into the whole thing of the whole primary process? Well, in our government system, we actually have a bicameral house, right? In our legislature, we've got a president and we've got a Supreme Court, and so we are dominated by two major political parties. At one point, it was Federalists and Anti-Federalists, and currently it's Democrats versus Republicans. And so, in the Democratic primary process, we have both primaries where people do voting, fill out a ballot and submit it, and it's counted, and that's how the state determines, or they caucus. Now, either way, however the breakdown is, the Democratic Party does a proportional delegation of representatives based on the voting. So if in a caucus state, I get, a majority of the precincts to caucus for me, I would get the highest delegate count from that state. Whereas the candidate who won, say I win 40 precincts, someone wins 10, and there are 50 delegates up for grabs, right? I win 40, they win 10. That's how it works in the Democratic Party. And so to ensure that a fringe candidate wouldn't ever, take out the mainstream person in 1984, because Big Brother's always watching, the Democratic National Convention decided to propose this idea of superdelegates, where a party leadership group, people who have important positions within the Democratic Party, are in fact our superdelegates. So we have Bill Clinton as a superdelegate, and so former presidents, governors, senators, people like that, they are superdelegates. Some lobbyists are also superdelegates, so the corporations can have a voice in sending who you want to go to the White House, to the White House, I suppose. But they also have the ability to ensure that the person who's going to help them the most takes the office. This leads to lots of issues, and we've seen a huge uproar against superdelegates in this process. So why don't the Republicans have superdelegates? It's probably because they don't have a proportional delegation system. I could win, by, let's say I have a primary state, and I get, 50,000 votes for me. It's a lot. A whole bunch of people turned out and voted. 50,000 people voted in this primary for me, and the candidate in front of me got, like 100,000 votes. Not that many people vote. But even though I won a huge number of votes, I get no delegates. And so the problem that we've actually seen in the Republican Party is that because they don't do proportional delegation to voting, candidates who should have been more mainstream, like Jeb Bush, Mike Huckabee, have been ousted out. Even Marco Rubio, who looked like the outset winner just a few months ago, got his ass kicked and kicked out of the race. Like, he wasn't winning delegation when I honestly feel that he probably should have been. But it's also led to the rise of Trump, because without the proportional delegation, when, he's not winning a state, if, like, Trump loses a state, then he doesn't win the delegates. Now, it's true some states vary and do have a more proportional delegate system, but generally it's a winner-take-all. And that's another problem that we have even with the Electoral College, which I will talk about in another episode, because good God, as soon as you hear about the Electoral College, you'll say, why the fuck don't I determine who goes to the White House? So, thanks for watching, guys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, people who are just intrigued about politics in general. I enjoy doing this. I apologize. It's been a while since I've actually, sat down and started working on this. I ran into a slight issue of getting addicted to Netflix again. I jacked the AV cable straight into my arm, and just, it's been a bad week. But if you like what you see and you want to talk a little bit more about politics, hit that like button, the subscribe button, and catch me next week when I talk about bureaucracies, because they're not as bad as you think. So, find out about bureaucracies next time. I am the Quixotic Politician. Thanks for watching. Democracy starts with you.